morning, everyone, depending on where you are joining us from. Welcome to this meeting where we will be discussing the progress that we have been making together with you in terms of the partnerships with AGRA to bring about an inclusive agriculture transformation on the continent of Africa. Today, we have a very solid panel that will be together with the team at AGRA, will be speaking to the progress of our partnerships. This meeting will be recorded for the purpose of us being able to share with you the recording for you to view it at a later date. We will also be running a poll. Please keep checking in the chat section, and we would strongly encourage that you fill in the poll, because your responses to those questions will be able to help us refine and sharpen our engagement with you. I would also like to quickly run through our panel today, and of course we will introduce them as they come up to speak. With us today, we have the team at AGRA being led by our Vice President responsible for strategic partnerships, Vanessa Adams. We have Simon Winter, who is Executive Director at the Syngenta Foundation. We have with us also Winnie, who works for Microsoft Africa. She's responsible for business development. And then we have Mark H, from Bayer, who is responsible for partnerships at Bayer.
If I can just suggest as a panel discussion, first of all, to our partners who are attending, please go ahead and badger us with questions and ideas and input in the chat or the question Q and answer box. But Simon, if you can kick us off, because you've published frequently on this topic of partnerships and different models of partnerships, and you actually lead right now the Farm to Market Alliance Partnership Committee, Steering Committee as an example. If you could just share a few of your reflections on partnership engagements for last mile, reaching smallholders, and for impact. And as we're leading up this summer to such critical, momentous food system summits, all of us are challenged to see the impact on the ground in Africa. So we look forward to your input, and then we'll go next to Winnie and hear about Microsoft and digital ag, and then wrap up with Mark and have hopefully time for questions. Thanks. Over to you, Simon.
Great. Thanks, Vanessa. I have a couple of slides, if it's okay if I show them.
Yes.
Let me just put this up. This is about, it's literally a cover slide and then two other slides just to show you a little bit about the Farm to Market Alliance. So one of the things I think that's really important about these partnership structures is that there has to be a really clear shared vision. And I think that came through very clearly in what Fatih said, that the vision that Nestle had and AGRA had in your partnerships was very aligned. I think that was a key hallmark feature of the Farm to Market Alliance with public and private partners. So you can see at the bottom here, you have the World Food Programme on the public sector side, along with AGRA. And then on the private sector side, Syngenta and Rabobank and Bayer and Yara. And all of them have a shared vision of how to integrate value chains to bring more smallholders into the marketplace to become commercially sustainable. And that's really at the heart of what Farm to Market Alliance is about. It's a very holistic, integrated design, and it's supported by those partners at the core. In other words, the sort of secretariat infrastructure of the alliance is actually funded by the partners, and all the CEOs of the organizations are committed to this partnership continuing. And that's another feature I think that's really important about these kinds of partnerships. They're not projects sort of buried down somewhere in a CSR department. They are owned by the leadership of these enterprises, and that enables the partnership to ride out the storms. And we've had some storms in FTMA over the years where things haven't worked, but that commitment of the leaders is really a hallmark. If we go into the core of the model, what the what the partnership is centered on is something that's quite aligned with what Jennifer was introducing earlier on in that integrated value chain kind of picture that Jennifer showed, as well as really what the VBAs are trying to do. And in a way, the Farm Service Center model that FTMA has is kind of like a VBA, but rather more enhanced with multiple service offerings, product offerings, market integration offerings, things like mechanization, finance, and so on, all getting delivered to farmers through these farmer service centers in a very integral way. The farmer service centers may be part of a cooperative, they may be a more independent entrepreneur, but it's that really holistic offering that is really the key to the rural transformation, the value chain transformation that farm to market is trying to bring. And then clearly what we want to do is not just run a project for a few years and reach a handful of farmers, but we want to support something that can become transformational in the future. So as you can see here, the targets at the moment are relatively modest, but still, even with these modest targets, if we hit them by 2022, 2023, across the current 4 countries and the various value chains that are being supported in each of those countries, we'll be supporting about 500,000 farmers to be much more commercially successful with income increases of about 25%, and building, profits for those along the value chain as well by serving more farmers or sourcing from more farmers at about an 8% margin improvement. And it's that win-win feature for all the players then who are part of the partnership as well as the beneficiaries. That is another, I think, hallmark feature of the Farm to Market Alliance. Let me just mention very briefly a couple of other things. One is that this core set of partners is then able to leverage in donor funding to support the actual programmatic outreach. So at the moment we have the Norwegian government and the New Zealand government supporting it, but we need more partners as well. So there's a core infrastructure here of partners that have maintained the platform so far, but we need more partners, especially downstream. This is only going to work if it's serving growing markets, whether that's import substitution or new urban consumers demanding more nutritious foods or whatever the drivers are. We need to be serving demand sinks, and we need the partners who are the food processors, the distributors, the retailers, the logistics managers, etc., who are tackling those growing markets to become part of the platform. That already happens at a country level. We're engaging very well, I think, with local SMEs in the various programs, but we need partners on the downstream side to join the core. We also need partners on the digitalization side. The digital tools are coming, but it's still an evolving ecosystem, and that's an area that we want to strengthen through partnerships. And then finally, we need financial institutions, I think, also to join, because that access to finance for the farmer service centers as well as for the farmers remains really problematic. And we're working on that as well, but again, very open to other partners coming on board. So basic infrastructure, well established, lots of learning to be shared, lots of continuous improvement happening, more partners welcome. Thank you, Vanessa.
Fantastic. Thanks for summarizing the nuggets of learning. And maybe it wasn't clear entirely to everybody, but Farm to Market Alliance, I think, was initiated in 2017, if I recall. And so part of the model of many of these partnerships have struggled with continuity, year-on-year growth, and also leverage, right? And I'm glad that, Simon, you dared share targets and numbers, because part of the questions that we all get asked regularly is, what is the impact? Where's the reach? Is it measurable? Is there value in all this time spent coordinating, or are we all just dancing around the problem? So Winnie, Microsoft has been driving us 2 meetings a week, on and on, engagement, testing, where's the content, where's it? Tell us a little bit about the Agra Microsoft partnership as another example, and how you see the impact opportunities for digitizing the last mile.
Thank you, Vanessa. I think maybe just to start with why we partnered with Agra. I think as we were thinking about launching our agriculture transformation strategy in Africa, I think one of the ways that we're looking at a strategic partnership would be a partner that I think very well covered by Jennifer in terms of the footprint, government relationships at all levels, and also the convening power, and also investments that they're making already in the agriculture space where we could leverage, but also learn from. And I think one of the other great things that Agra brings to the table is also the agriculture expertise. They have doctors, doctor level employees as well. So really great experts in the agriculture space. And so it has been a great learning from us, for us as well. As a technology company, we're not an expert in agriculture. We're looking for an organization that would really help us to accelerate and be able to really land quickly. And so as we were launching, I think one of the main areas we're thinking about is definitely on the government engagement work. And so Agra really does have a great footprint and also deep relationships with government. And so they really helped us to be able to get the inroads with some of the ministries and be able to actually very quickly turn around great initiatives with the Ministry of Agriculture here in Kenya. We actually just launched our digital transformation roadmap earlier today as part of the UN Food System Dialogue, as part of the first national dialogue on the innovation level. And so it's been quite a journey, and so really thankful for the kind of support that Agra has done over the years. I think the other area where we saw there would be opportunities definitely on agriculture and youth, and being able to really kind of bring the idea of agriculture and digital technologies together. And so really engaging young people in agriculture. And so we did launch a co-sponsored internship program that has really helped us as well in terms of driving our main program that we run with Agra that she was mentioning. We meet multiple times a week and go for field visits together. And so we did see an opportunity to partner with Agra on the VBA program, the Village-Based Advisors program, where we really wanted to test out our flagship product, which is called KuzaBot, or AgriBot in this case. And we have been working with them for the last almost 9 months now in being able to pilot it in Kiambu and Embu. So far, we have over 20,000 farmers registered. We are getting quite a great interactions, I think over 50,000 interactions so far. And mostly farmers very interested in agri-advisory services. So if I talk about the bot, it's pretty much you think about a virtual assistant support village-based advisors to be able to get standardized content. So advisory services, weather data, pest and disease information, and also diagnostics, and also with regards to and working with a couple of partners, in this case, agri-tech startups, to really be able to start thinking about how do we provide more services onto the platform and make it a one-stop shop for farmers to be able to really access all the services that they need to be able to increase their yield, but also get more information about any new trends and stuff. And so our work has been quite so far great. We have also engaged with the county governments and really being able to also expand the work that we're doing in being able to give them visibility about the work that we're doing through dashboards. I could have shared some of the slides, but anyway, so dashboarding, and so giving them visibility on what's happening on the ground, but also really having better interventions at the farmer level to be able to ensure that they're getting the right information and also the right inputs and access to market as well. I think finally, what I would also want to mention is that we have been exploring extending the partnership in a couple of ways. I think given just the kind of convening power that Agra has and already the existing external partnership that they have. And interestingly, some of these multinational companies are also our customers. There's been a great interest in being able to see how do we work together in terms of last mile delivery. And so really looking forward to expanding the partnership moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Winnie. Sorry, there's a little bit, but I was so pleased to see the link and the launch of the digital innovation lever in Kenya around the Food Systems Summit and Food Systems Dialogues, and we're actively facilitating and linking and and trying to make food systems real in Africa, not global dialogue, but looking forwards. And I think maybe that's the best segue to introduce Marquette and what Bayer has committed to. Even pre-food systems announcement, Bayer was, I think, kind of ahead of the curve, making huge commitments. But Mark, if you can just link for those who are listening, this 100 million smallholder farmer initiative that Bayer is committing to, the commitments you've had for many years to the Farm to Market Alliance, and also this carbon neutral vision, you know, and what can we all do in agriculture towards the measuring of the seeming impossible carbon neutrality goals? Over to you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Vanessa. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I've got to leave in 4 minutes for another meeting. So, but it's a real pleasure to be part of this and share a little bit of this in the farm. Can you all hear me? It seems to have frozen. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. It's like it froze. So, yes, we're part of the Farm to Market Alliance, but we've been in many different things with regard to developing sustainable agriculture as a company going forward. We made a commitment a couple of years ago to empower 100 million smallholder farmers globally. That involves our crop protection, but also our seeds and traits, specifically with regard to partnerships with AGRA. Over the years, we've been working on seeds. So the village-based advisors is something we've been working on for many years, actually providing packets of seed for testing, and have been part of that, and really seeing the reach and the convening power and the footprint of AGRA to be able to help us to get to those farmers and get the knowledge out to the farmers about the benefits of the improved seed is really important. And then building on that, this last year, just based on the response to COVID, we decided that one of the things that we could do as a company to help in response to COVID was to get improved seed to farmers to help on their food security. So we worked with AGRA at the local level there on Better Farms, Better Lives approach to develop, to distribute seed free to vegetable seed and hybrid maize seed to smallholder farmers in a response to the COVID threat. So those sorts of partnerships and opportunities are things that we build on. We recognize as a company that we're just part of the ecosystem and we have an important role to play. And then to respond to your question about the carbon markets, that's where I kind of got thrown off a little bit because I wasn't thinking about commenting on that. We have committed to reducing our carbon footprint in agriculture by 30%. Most of our focus on that has been actually with the large scale farmers at this stage, but we are definitely looking on a global basis of how it is that agriculture can be a solution rather than a problem in farming. And you know, crops actually are one of the few things that actually take carbon out of the air and put it into the soil. So we're looking at how to measure that, develop carbon markets, and create that there's a source of revenue for farmers to be paid for their carbon sequestration. And it actually changes the behaviors in farmers from a standpoint of putting in cover crops, reducing tillage, all of these sorts of things to keep more carbon sequestered in the soil. So we're certainly looking at all of those aspects and recognizes the importance of partnerships to be able to make those things happen and really being able to get down to the ground level with the farmers and local partners at the level of dealing with on the ground realities for the farmers to make an impact on their lives. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Vanessa.
Thanks. Sorry to throw you a curveball on the carbon footprint, but I know you've done so much work in this area, and it's something which a lot of people think is actually the opposite of what's happening, right? So there's a lot of belief and discussion in the ecosystem about what's the right approach, right, to the impending climate change and what mitigation measures, what measurement, what's the reality scientifically in terms of crop diversification, and as you mentioned, what measurements can occur. And this is something that we all are being asked to do a better job reporting on.
Well, and one of the things I should have mentioned on that is all of the intersection of so many different things that we talk about in this, because in order to be able to do this with the carbon markets, there's a real need for the digital tools. You really need to be able to track and trace things. You need to be able to verify it. So you get into conversations about blockchain, you get into conversations about how are you going to gather this information. So as you see, the combination of the partners that have been talking here today in this format, all of those come together to really help create that vision. And I think that's where I think we have a common vision about how agriculture can really be a solution to so many of these issues that society faces. And Africa really needs to lead the way, because the greatest opportunity for change and improvement is actually in the continent of Africa. So yeah, thank you. And I'm going to apologize. I'm leading another conversation right now that I need to get to. So I'm going to drop off, but I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for joining us so early in the morning, Mark. And I know everybody is actually out of time. We appreciate all of your engagements. Our idea here was to launch a conversation about cross-pollination amongst partnerships, best practices, lessons learned, and how do we also leverage and avoid duplication or reinventing the wheel where that's been done time and time again. So I know that many of you have been partners, as Fatih mentioned, with so many different ecosystem players. Simon, you've led this space for many years. So we really appreciate all of your partnerships with us and your continued support and commitments. I think we can wrap up. If you want to give your final remarks, Simon and Fatih and Winnie, and then we'll let Valentine close us out.
Sure. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share some thoughts today. I think I just want to come back and build on the point about not reinventing the wheel and really trying to have these kind of integrated models. You know, there's many of these village-based advisor, farmer service center type models that other organizations are all experimenting with and developing. And I think there's a space for all of that knowledge to come together and be shared in a way that hasn't, you know, happened yet. And that requires a little bit of, let's say, losing one's ego and being a little more open and willing to share the knowledge, still to subsequently then pursue competitive opportunities in the marketplace. Competition is very important for innovation and improvement, but we need to build together for system improvement. Thank you.
Winnie, any additional points from you?
Maybe agreeing with what Simon said, being able to really bring together our different strengths to be able to solve the problem of last mile delivery. I think it's not a one organization play, and we really need to work together to be able to get there. So really looking forward to learning more about Farm to Market Alliance and maybe seeing where we can work together. Thank you.
So again, I mean, really for me, it's been a great pleasure. This shows how, you know, a partnerships make $1 and $1 5 and not 2. Let's continue to work together. You know, Simon, I really like, you know, what you say, let's put our egos aside and let's work together. But at the end of the day, our key constituency, which is the African farmer, the African consumer, need food, and the African farmer need more income. So at the end of the day, I mean, we're working for the same constituency. The more we can put 1 and 1 together to make it 5, the better for the continent. So with that, I would like to bring the meeting to a close. We will be sharing the recording of this particular session, and reach out to us. You've seen our contacts on the last slide. If you have any questions, if you have any clarifications, or if you need to build any partnerships with us, we are more than happy to do that. And we will be again reaching out to you as we build out our 2030 strategy to get your input on how the next 9 years will look like. Thank you. To have a good evening and a good morning.